David Snelson, commander of the 89th Airlift Wing, and his wife Catherine Snelson, who are receiving the Biden family at this really historic moment. Gloria, I think it is so significant. Gloria Borger is with us. It's so significant that the first thing they're going to do is get in this motorcade and drive from Joint Base Andrews in Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C., over to the Lincoln Memorial, the reflecting pool, to remember and honor the 400,000 Americans who have died from COVID.
It is very important, and I think what it says is that finally you're going to have a president who will remember the people who died and will try and make sure that vaccines get in people's arms so you do not have to go through this anymore. As you know, with Joe Biden, and you see him there surrounded with his wife, and family will no doubt come out. The family is everything to Biden, and the sad part is that his entire life has been bookended by tragedy and death. First the death of his wife and young child, and just weeks after he was elected senator, and then the death of Beau Biden, who was 46 when he died. And Biden, as Evan was saying, does wear his emotions out there. And he will be a president, unlike Donald Trump, who will talk about people's lives and saying to them, I know the feeling you have when there is a hole in your heart, because he has had that himself, Wolf.
And so, Gloria, I wasn't surprised either, but I'm sure you weren't surprised at his farewell remarks in Delaware earlier today. He was speaking about his late son, Beau. He was speaking about his love for the state of Delaware that took in his family when he was a young boy. He was not only emotional, but you could see the tears coming out down his cheek.
Well, he does get emotional. When I've interviewed him, he got emotional about talking about his sister, Val, who no doubt you will see, who has been with him all the way in his political career and with him when he suffered tragedy. And Beau, of course, is something special to him. And what he said today was, my only regret is that he's not here, and we should be introducing him as president. It was Beau who was worried about his father and told his friend Ted Kaufman, I'm not so much worried about what happens to me after he had been diagnosed, but I'm worried that my father has a purpose and my father will continue on after I pass. And I think that is always in the forefront of Joe Biden's mind. One of the reasons he chose Kamala Harris, I think, is not only because of her extraordinary record, but because she had been so close to Beau Biden. And I think that means an awful lot to him, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing him talk about it.
Evan, I'm sure he is thinking of his son, Beau, as he gets ready to be sworn in tomorrow, right at 12 noon, as the 46th president of the United States. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's, the threads of his life we see intersecting right in front of us today. Look, he is, after all, there meeting service members, and Beau Biden, after all, served overseas in the armed forces. It became a big part of the Biden family connection to the armed forces. Jill Biden, when she was in the vice presidency, during the vice president, she instituted an important program helping the spouses of men and women serving overseas deal with that difficulty, the strain of that. That was a program, of course, that ended under the Trump administration. I think what you see today is also this moment in which the pageantry, the beginning to see the earliest moments of this office to which Joe Biden and the whole Biden family has paid so much respect over its life. He actually hesitated before becoming the vice president in 2008 when the offer was first made to him, because he thought of himself as a president. And when that moment in 2015, 2016 finally came, when it seemed as if he wasn't going to have that possibility, for a long time they had thought of their son Beau, as he mentioned in Delaware, they called him, Joe Biden 2.0. And Joe Biden would often say that Beau has all of my best qualities and none of my worst. And there was a real sense of service and commitment and the presidency, and all of these things are wrapped up in one for the Biden family.
John King, as we see this motorcade to leave Joint Base Andrews and make that drive over to the Lincoln Memorial for this memorial service honoring the 400,000 Americans who have died from coronavirus, we can't stress enough that this is the first thing that the president-elect of the United States wanted to do, remember and honor the victims of coronavirus, and that is in such stark contrast, as you point out, to what the current president, the outgoing president of the United States, has wanted to do over these many, many months.
The current president, who will be the former president this time tomorrow, has ignored this pandemic, has understated it, has defied science, fact, logic, reason, and so on from the very beginning. He said it was not going to be a pandemic. He said it would be gone by April. He said when there were 15 or so confirmed cases in the United States, that would be it, and it would be gone. Joe Biden is president in many ways because of the failed leadership of President Trump on this fact. So it is one of the reasons he is president, and it also, just to echo what everyone else has said, it is who he is. He relates to pain. He relates to suffering. He believes the job of a president is to acknowledge the pain and the suffering. And so the flags on the mall are quite moving. It is a sad thing. This coronavirus already had scaled back the inaugural. The insurrection and the heightened security scales it back even more. But to see those flags where we would normally see crowds, look at it. It just stops you in your track. Wolf, I go through these numbers every day on my program, and I study them every night, and it is numbing, and it is sad. And so to have a president who wants to acknowledge the pain, acknowledge the loss of 400,000 of our citizens, but also the pain of their families and those who they have left behind, a pain that he understands. So I think it's a critical first step, and just one of the many dramatic turning of the page, if you will. So much is going to change overnight in this town, and Joe Biden thought it was important he paid tribute first right there to the pandemic raging in this country.
Yeah, and he has to inherit the worst of it right now, because it's clearly getting worse, at least over the next few weeks and months, as opposed to getting better. Coming up, as the nation is about to pay tribute to more than the 400,000 Americans we've lost in the coronavirus pandemic, Jake is going to talk live with Dr. Anthony Fauci about the pandemic and the enormous challenges facing the new president. We'll be right back.
We've missed the globe-trotting and adventures. Now we're ready to get out and go.
This is living.
Uncovering the city's DNA.
This is where it all started.
Meeting people who share its secrets.
People come to Dubai to reinvent themselves.
And making discoveries that wow.
From desert to this.
It's a world of wonder.
Phenomenal.
Now go and see it. Sunday on CNN. In association with Turkish Airlines.
On the next Living Golf, the future of the game. Hear from two rising stars with big ambitions. European Tour winners Rasmus Højgaard and Robert McIntyre. Plus, what's next for one of 2020's breakout stars, Emily Pedersen.
I really want to get back and prove that I'm more mature and I'm a different player, so definitely I feel stronger.
Join me, Shane O'Donoghue, on this month's Living Golf.
Saturday on CNN, in association with Golf Saudi.
Our trust has been broken. We've been lied to by some of our leaders, even our friends. And we are hurting. Now more than ever, we need to trust one another and rebuild those bonds. Because when we trust one another, that is when we can truly achieve great things.
I'll be your explainer-in-chief.
Relevant stories, complex issues explained, all in 10 minutes. CNN 10 on your laptop right at home. Stream at youtube.com/CNN 10.
What many women have experienced time and time again, and that is the constant need to understand how to calibrate more forceful emotions, and the fact that women continue to walk a really tenuous tightrope when it comes to being in positions of power or aspiring to power, just having these types of conversations and be more sensitive to the fact that when you have different perspectives in the room, it's not enough just to have a seat at the table. It's not enough to have a voice at the table. You have to be heard. And when you have different communication styles, or when they're read very, very differently, and I say this again, women's behavior is interpreted very, very differently than men. I think we all need to be much more conscious of those biases that we're bringing into these conversations. If we don't have more women at the seat of the table, if their voices aren't being heard, we're not going to be able to fully leverage the power of those diverse perspectives.
I feel back in Stockholm.